What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to Philly with John Marks, live on PHLY. As always, brought to you by Bet Parks. Right now on the Bet Parks app, might want to buy it right now. Eagles are 6.5-point favorites over the Cowboys on Sunday in Dallas. Dak Prescott's probably not going to play. If that's the case, that number may go up. So check it out right now. Man, do we have so much stuff to talk about today? And I don't know if I needed help to talk about all these subjects, but I actually did. Because joining me in studio this morning for the entire show, fresh off, that's the last time we heard from him was about 3 months ago on 97.5 The Fanatic. You've read him for many years in the Philadelphia Daily News. He became a radio superstar, and now he joins me, Philly with John Marks. His name is Bob Cooney. Beers with Bob.
Never too early for that, John.
What's up?
How you doing? You good?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm good. Normally, we would spend 5 minutes talking about what you've been doing in the last few months.
Not a lot to say there.
Well, I mean, listen, we have so much to talk about, which I'm dying to get into you with. But how are you, and how are things?
All's good. All's good. Yeah, the 3 months is up, which is, for those who don't know, radio does this non-compete thing.
Today's a non-compete party.
So I'm ready to compete again, John. So let's have at it.
They let Bob out of jail as I got let out of jail. Anthony also, he had a longer sentence.
He did,
in
yes.
non-compete jail.
Yeah.
So that is over with. And geez, like I know that like when I wasn't, and I did stuff on YouTube, so you're able to kind of use that as an outlet, or you can go on social media or whatever. But when big stories happen, you miss not being able to react to it. And when we talk about big stories, and we're going to start with the Eagles game from yesterday, we have Joel Embiid assaulting Marcus Hayes, and we had the Jason Kelce phone spike from over the weekend. But you miss that kind of stuff, right? Like, it's like, oh, my God, like, that's something to talk about.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible. It's a little kid. Your toy's been taken away. Your livelihood's been taken away. All of those things. You know, it's horrible because you and I have been in this business for so long, and you crave weekends like the one that we just had, with all the different stories that you talked about. Unfortunately, one of us being one of those stories, which you never want to happen, but it did.
Yeah. It's, because a lot of times you're grinding for content and to do things. And then when you get all this dropped on you at once, It's like, all right, let's do it. All right. So you know what, Bob? I want to do this. I want to start off positively with the Eagles yesterday. And
How long's that going to last?
Let's see. About 3-4 minutes. And then we'll get into the meat, which is Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, all right.
But I can't believe Saquon Barkley is an Eagle. I can't believe it's not often that you get the player that you're watching and you're saying, like, I wish he was on my team. We have that player in Saquon Barkley.
It is amazing the things that he does on the football field. And, you know, because he's the local guy, sort of, right? He goes to New York, and you play the Giants twice a year. And so you get to see him a little bit. He was not this guy up there. Now, they haven't been able to rectify that offensive lineup in New York for some reason for years. But watching him over the years, you're just like, wow, what happened to him? Well, this is who he was coming out of Penn State. And that move that he had yesterday, I've never seen anybody jump backwards, leapfrog somebody on a football field. I don't care what level of football it was.
Well, it was a spin, but it wasn't a traditional spin when you look at it, right? Because
So he spins.
Has time. Now
he plants. Here's just like
spin,
a reverse spin.
And then it's a spin again, jump backwards.
So, like, you knew he was talented. I thought it was a brilliant move by Howie Roseman. Signing a running back like Saquon Barkley doesn't work for every franchise. I mean, honestly, the Giants letting him walk really isn't that crazy considering where they are.
Sure.
Here's the other thing. We're through 8 games. I know there is another side of Saquon Barkley, and that's the injured side of Saquon Barkley. And you actually saw him take a pretty good shot on that play right there. It looked like he took it in the head, and I was worried there was a concussion. So he's got to be careful about it. But through 8 games this year, he's got 925 rushing yards. He's on pace for 2,000 yards in a 17-game season.
Yeah, which is amazing. And it's, you bring up Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman deciding to bring him in here. Was it a case where their confidence level in Jalen Hurts started to dwindle a little bit, and it was we got to get that running back? The fact that Lane Johnson and company went to the coaching staff a few games back and said, hey, look, we got to run the ball more. you know, there's a big thing there, and now you have that you can rely on. And so, yeah, it's paid dividends, and throughout the year. The injury thing is interesting, John, because yesterday I thought a few times you saw him come off the field, I thought he was stretching a knee, a hammy, something, especially after the backwards jump. I thought his legs were tightening up a little bit. This week will be interesting. It was funny, I was driving in here. I anticipate it's a week of no Saquon Barkley practicing, and then boom, he shows up on Sunday to play.
You would have liked to really have, and we'll obviously get into this, you would have liked him not to have to play high leverage snaps in the fourth quarter. Because the way they're using him right now is not conducive to him being healthy at the end of the season.
No.
It's just not. I mean, he has almost 1,100 scrimmage yards, 8 touchdowns. Look what he did yesterday, 159, had the rushing touchdown. I mean, the touchdown catch that he had was fantastic.
A great catch. Great catch.
And it's not the first we've seen this year where it brings back visions of Brian Westbrook. They haven't had a receiving running back that looks like he could play wide receiver since Brian Westbrook.
Yeah, and you know, you can make the argument, although he ran the ball 27 times and his touches are way up there, that they haven't really used him as much as they could out of the backfield. You know, you haven't seen a wheel route yet all that much from him, or screenplays. Whatever happened to the screen?
They don't even practice the screenplay. No,
no,
Sirianni, it's like I don't know if Jalen doesn't sell it well or it's just not what they want to do in the offense.
Yeah.
They can't do it. It's going to try.
No.
To do screen passes.
No. And when they do with that little bubble screen, it always looks bad.
So what's just with Saquon, and then we'll talk about Jalen for a second. With Saquon, this is their toughest stretch of the season. So you wouldn't expect them to be able to dial down the carries and the playing time with them. The Cowboys game might end up being a laugher. We'll see what happens with that. But then you have Washington. You travel to Los Angeles, and the Rams are good.
Yeah.
And then you go to the Ravens. Lamar Jackson had a perfect game yesterday, literally. The Ravens are, although they'll lose games you don't expect, they're really good. So I wouldn't expect his usage to go down in the next month. So you got to preserve him because this is how you win. You had said earlier, did Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman say, hey, we got to get more help to Jalen Hurts. We can't put him out there like we did last year. And I think it was a brilliant move because you're really talking about a 2-year contract that they gave Saquon Barkley. If he was injured or didn't work, they get rid of him after the second year, and there's a cap hit or whatever. But the cap's BS as it is in the NFL right now. But what the Eagles said in the offseason was the only way we're getting back to the Super Bowl is if we get Jalen Hurts back to what we saw in 2022. And that's by having a great running game. That's by putting dynamic receivers around him. And that's about better play calling. Kellen Moore's really got into a groove with what they're doing offensively. And Saquon Barkley, they can run their offense through Saquon Barkley. And that makes Jalen Hurts that much more effective.
Oh, no question. And think about it. Like yesterday, they didn't have Dallas Goedert again. A.J. Brown goes out, what was it, halftime? Right before halftime,
I don't remember much
believe.
of him after that.
And didn't return. Now, that's something to keep an eye on. You know, I was thinking about this with all the usage and the way Barkley was acting yesterday. I thought, wow, could next week, and excuse me for saying this, could next week be maybe a load management game for a Saquon Barkley because Dallas won't have Dak Prescott probably because of the hamstring and whatever. But now with A.J. Brown, you know, I'm hearing that it could be a couple of week thing maybe with that knee. No, you're going to have to rely on Barkley. So, like I said, this week could be all right, Saquon, just get yourself healthy. Don't worry about practicing. Get yourself healthy to go into that Dallas game. But you're right, John. Who's your MVP of this team so far? Who's the MVP of this high-powered offense? It's not even close that it's Saquon Barkley.
Not even close.
Right? Not even close.
Not even close.
So you have to keep going with what gets you there, and right now it's him.
All right, Jalen Hurts in a second. Normally, right now, we do the headline sponsored by Dr. Glatt Hair Restoration. Bald is now optional if you want to improve how you look and how you feel about yourself. Glatt Hair has the right treatment for you. Visit Glatt, G-L-A-T, hair, MCTR.com, or call 610-980-4000 to get started. Our headlines essentially are going to be our show today, so we're not going to do anything else. Dallas lost yesterday. Dak is caught mouth, we bleep and suck.
Yeah, how about that?
And then he's got what looked like a pretty significant hamstring injury. That's going to be a couple weeks, I would think.
Yeah.
Be tough to play this week for sure. And then Washington won again yesterday. That was a tight game, but, you know, like probably the Giants scored a touchdown.
Giants are so bad. Daniel Jones is just horrible. Like, they run a play, I think it was 4th down, and he like bobbles, or he's running on his own, and then he just starts bobbling the football by the end zone. He gets tackled. Washington takes over. Giants needed a stop. They couldn't get a stop. Washington goes down, does what they have to do. Washington's interesting. I'm surprised they're as good as they are right now, record-wise. I still don't think they're what their record says.
Yeah,
if you follow, you know what I mean?
The first year of taking everybody by surprise and kind of maybe they run out of steam towards the end of the year. They've won a couple of close games. The quarterback's for real. That's for sure. He's
good. McLaurin's good. Like they have some good things going there. Yeah,
they do. So let's talk about Jalen for a second, and then we got to talk about Sirianni. By the way, about 10 minutes or so is when we're going to get into the Sixers and Joel Embiid, because this guy right here was on the Sixers beat, knows the ins and the outs of the Sixers and Embiid and everything else. So I can't, there's not a better person I could. You're better than Marcus this morning, because people don't want to hear from Marcus because they're mad at him. But everybody loves you. So you're the best thing that we can talk about this morning. That's coming up in about 10 minutes. So stay tuned for that. But I got it. Jalen Hurts. This is 2022 Jalen Hurts, and I think a lot of it has to do with confidence and what the rest of the team is doing around him. Yesterday, 18-24. He's decisive in the pocket. He's making quick decisions. He's not forcing the ball, not holding the ball, which he was doing at the beginning of the season. And he's accurate. The deep ball's been great. He's throwing the ball with confidence from the pocket. 5 straight games. And Bob, this is big, obviously. 5 straight games with no interceptions. 4th game in a row with no turnovers. Oh, what do you know? The Eagles are winning these games, right? Like, if the Eagles are going to go back to the Super Bowl this year, you have the formula. This is the formula for the team. We're not even talking about the defense yet, but everything that I've seen with Jalen Hurts the last 3, 4, 5 games has been extremely encouraging.
It has, and it's funny you bring up 2022, because everybody wants to make that the bookmark, and rightfully so. Because, was he the guy that could be an MVP type quarterback in this league like he was in 2022? Is he the guy that last year you just kind of watched and said, well, I'm not sure. No one. I can see why he was a second rounder.
Right.
So like we went into this season and I had said, at my previous job, like, I'm on the fence with him. Like, I need to see, because I don't know if he's 2022. I don't know if he's last year. I don't know if he's something in between. It's funny, in these last 4 games, Sean, like you said, he's been good. To me, he's been more of the manager quarterback, which is okay when you have a Saquon, Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, a great offensive line. They're playing really well this year, even though they're, hit with injuries. But he is more, and I'm okay with it, of being that managing quarterback that when big plays are needed, it looks like he's there. You bring up the long throws, the throw to Devontae Smith, 2 throws to Devontae Smith.
What a catch.
Beautiful, what a catch in the end zone. And then the crossing route that took him down to like the 6-yard line. That was a great throw. But to me, John, his legs, last year compared to 2022, I looked like a guy running on one leg compared to what he was in 2022. Yesterday, his feet were really good, and he got out of some things and made some plays with his legs that keeps drives going, that enables him to do what he needs to do to keep drives going. So last 4 games, I'm leaning more towards that 2022 without the excitability factor maybe that he had in 2022.
Right. Dual threat. That's what we saw at the end of 2022. It's
exactly,
like that dude is a dual threat. If you're to say, hey, you're not going to beat us with your legs, he can beat you with his arm. And you know what? If he can just connect on the deep ball like he's been, makes a world of difference. I mean, really, like it's going to open up everything underneath, the running game. Right now they're humming. We'll see what happens during this stretch right here. But shout out to and Devontae Smith. They didn't really show a good replay. I don't remember watching on TV
of the touchdown,
of the Devontae Smith touchdown. I mean, he got it in, but to make that catch and to be able to get both feet in such a tight window to be able to do, it's unbelievable.
I thought there was no way he was going to. When the ball was released and you're watching, that's out of the end zone. The fact that he got a hand on it, you're saying, okay, that's cool. He got a hand on it. Then I see the ref put his hands up, and I said, how the hell did he get his feet in? And he did without bobbling it one-handed. That guy's amazing. What bothered me early in that game, John, and I think it was the first half, I think he only had 1 catch, 3 targets and 1 catch. I still get a little annoyed. Like, I'm a perfectionist, and not that I'm a downer, but I do. I want to see perfection all the time. That's what you're always aiming for in sports. I don't understand how you go stretches with him hardly seeing a target, or with, when Dallas Goedert's healthy, how does he go a game without getting a target? Or, I still think Kellen Moore is kind of getting used to all the toys that he has. And if this offense keeps growing, yeah, good things are coming.
Look at that right there. One-handed, brings it in, and then, there hasn't been a receiver with this kind of body control and a knack. Jeremy Maclin has the famous catch over on the sideline where he's somehow able to get both feet in. Deshaun was very good with that kind of stuff. I don't remember any receiver actually consistently being able to make catches like that.
He's going full speed there, takes the last long stride, and somehow, gets his body in a position where he's
unbelievable.
So that goes up in the air.
That was 36 yards.
The interception by Nakobe Dean, that's a hell of a catch by a guy that we haven't seen really playing on a ball, coverage much this year. So
might have saved Nick Sirianni's behind yesterday. All right, so let's talk about it then.
All right, 18 minutes. I'm proud of you.
Jesus, positive.
I'm proud. I know you are.
Well, Nick Sirianni. Maybe so I'm trying to go back through the plays, and I'm trying to be fair about it, right? I just don't know what the hell he's doing. I know that the analytics will say you go for it, you don't kick a field goal, but also you can't go on strict analytics, right? How's your offensive line performing? How is the game going? Do you need the points right here to make sure you get points, right? So they went for it on twice on fourth down yesterday. They were 0 for 2. They kept going for it, and then they're chasing the 2-point conversions because they don't get the first one. So now they're chasing for the rest of the game. 0 for 3 on the 2-point conversions. Jake Elliott comes out on the field for the first time in the game to kick an extra point or a field goal for a 57-yard field goal. By the way, he hit the upright and almost made.
Yeah.
It's just when you have decisions to make and you're not calling plays and you're being looked at as a CEO head coach, it feels like when Nick Sirianni struggles with it, man, he really struggles with it. And that's what you saw yesterday.
And it's just more than the points and chasing them to me. And I wrote it down 4 times when I was just, jotting some things down. Momentum. They scored with 22 seconds to go and they have to go up 16-0, right?
Kick the extra point.
You kick the extra point, you kick off, Jaguars kneel on it, you go into the locker room, it's all right, 17-0. You go for 2, something happens, and there's a penalty. You're going to kick the extra point, but then there's a penalty, so now it's at the 1. So now, of course, he has to go for it. And the whole time, and I think I tweeted it out, I'm like, why? Why make it a 2-score game when an extra point makes it a 3-score game? Do I need a book of analytics to explain that to me? 16-0 is a 2-score game. If you kick the extra point at 17-0, they have to score 3 times to tie you or get ahead of you. I just don't get it. And now you're chasing, like you said.
Because you're from the 1-yard line. So all of a sudden, because it's the 1, not the 2, you have to go for a 2-point conversion.
Do you ever get the feeling like that's the only decision he makes during games?
Yes.
That is absolutely his thumbprint. Therefore, it has to be spectacular.
Bob, I struggle with if the analytic book is telling you, because I think that you have to have a feel for what's going on in the game, like you said. You're going into the half, you take the extra point.
Yeah.
Right? You take the field goal earlier in the game. Jacksonville's offense was doing nothing. Pile up the points because at some point they're going to crack the code. They didn't. The Jags didn't have a play in the Eagles' territory till 8 minutes and 30 seconds in the third quarter.
Right.
The game, you can't. You have to have more of a lead at that point. You have to take advantage of the opportunities that present itself. I think the guys like Nick, and it feels like to me they've rallied around him bringing the kids up to the podium and getting criticized and yelling at the fans or whatever. It seemed like maybe that was a pivot point to the team to grow closer. But you also if you're going to make decisions to go for it on a fourth down and to go for 2, you can't be 0 for 5 between the 2 of them because that's going to be looked at as the only thing you've done in the game.
Yeah, and the aggressiveness thing. We're always going to be aggressive. Okay,
so you're not.
What's the opposite? Of aggressive is stupid. You can be aggressive, but you have to be smart about it. And there was nothing in my book that his aggressiveness was smart yesterday. Twice, you could have put your team up by another score, and you decided not to. And so you're not putting your team in the best position to win football games. You're actually putting them in a position that they have to defend what you've tried to be aggressive with. And it didn't work for him yesterday. I understand a fourth down going for it. That's his mantra. And it all started back with Doug Peterson, like we're Philadelphia, we're tough, we go for it. And it worked great. And it has worked great. But at some point, you have to be smart. And I think there was just a few times yesterday where he wasn't smart.
4th and inches. I hated the play. Like the decision's the decision. We've seen him go for it on that many times. The play was terrible.
So was that the one where they got called for?
No, it was a JP. That was like a play action.
Oh, they rolled out.
He tried to complete, and it wasn't there.
And then they got they had another 4th down, right, where they took too much time, or because they rolled Smith out in the motion, so it looked like they were going to do something different. It just seemed that like sometimes simple is the best way to go, John. And I don't think Nick Sirianni, when it comes to a part of the 2 decisions, it looks like he makes all the time: going for it on 4th down, or go for 2-point conversions. Those seem to be his calls that he tries to make. And they're like 50-50, I think, so far this year. That's not real good.
The Kobe Dean bailed him out. We could talk about the Eagles' defense pretty much for the next segment as well, because they've been fantastic, and they're young, athletic, fast, and everything else. But let's talk about the Joel Embiid, Marcus Hayes situation after we talk about my buddy, C-Jam Construction. That's right. Relatively new sponsor to Philly with John Marks. Longtime listeners, first-time callers. C-Jam Construction, interior remodeler specializing in bathrooms, floors, and decks, servicing all South Jersey and the Philly suburbs. It's C-Jam. What does that come from? It's the name of their grandfather's boat. C-Jam's the first initial of his 4 kids, including, the father of the business. And they're really awesome, right? So when you want a job, and again, bathrooms, floors, decks, whatever, what C-Jam does is they come in and they do everything themselves. They're not subcontracting stuffs out. All their jobs are backed by a 1-year labor warranty. They offer financing as well. So if you're worried about like, I got to have somebody come in and do this and come in and do that. No, they take care of everything for you. They take care of everything. So if you mention PHLY when you give them a call, 856-329-2933. Say, hey, I heard about you on PHLY. 856-329-2933. You can see everything that they do. It's CJAM, the letter C, JAM Construction.com. CJAMConstruction.com. Bathrooms, decks, floors. You can see a full selection of everything they do. CJAMConstruction.com. Tell them you heard about them on PHLY. There you go. All right, so about Glad hair restoration for a second. If you're going through all phases of hair loss, maybe you're starting to go bald, maybe you're completely bald. Where's Cooney has a hat on today? I don't know where he is. Tyler Zuley, my usual producer.
I'm follically challenged. There's no question about it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, if you need,
I don't care.
Like a lot of guys shave the head, and it's fine.
Yeah,
and
I think you look great.
That's a good look. I decided I shaved my head. You remember the old movie? Not that old. American History X. Right. It's I looked scary with a shaved head. I look like that. I was unfriendly.
Scarier than Nick Sirianni?
No, Nick Sirianni actually, it's grown in well. Yesterday, I thought it looked good with the beard. Nick Sirianni. By the way, 4-0 with the shaved head. Woo! Sirianni.
Shave that head, boys.
Thank you, JP. Agreed. Anyway, Glad Hair Restoration by Morgenstern Medical, established by the late Dr. Paul Glad. Now part of Morgenstern Medical under the direction of renowned plastic surgeon Dr. Ken Morgenstern. But what makes them the best is their hair team. And that's who I've been dealing with for 12, 13, 14 years now. Over 30 years of experience in the industry. Hair restoration is all they do. And you can see it. You can see it with the results. You can see it with the results from me. And technology, science has since I've had hair restoration, science and technology has improved greatly. So all stages of hair loss. Maybe you're not looking for a hair restoration surgery right now. There's a ton of stuff out there right now. New things, non-invasive TED treatments, vitamin supplementation, which a lot of women use that help with shedding and hair falling out, PRP and stem cell restoration. And each patient receives a complimentary one-on-one consultation to pinpoint the best course of treatment. Glad hair is not just about restoration, it's about innovation. The breakthrough treatments can really change your life and change your hair. So bald is now optional. If you want your hair back, do it with the experts in the industry. That's Glad Hair. You can call them right now. Their hair team is standing by at 610-980-4000, 610-980-4000, or GLAT, GLAT hair GlattHairMCTR.com. GlattHairMCTR.com or 610-980-4000. All right, Bob, how long were you on the 76ers beat?
09 to 17, I want to say. So I got a lot of process in me.
Oh, you were all
Yikes.
process.
I was all process. Yeah.
That's rough.
I know. I tell people, what do you do for a living? Yeah, I covered 76ers back then. They're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
So was that like were those years like dog years where
It was different. Here's how I would describe it, John. Like we all are. We're all big sports fan, right? I played ball. I played high school, college ball. Like, I love basketball. I missed seeing good basketball because I went years without seeing good basketball. It was crazy. Like, to sum it up, we're in Boston one time, and the Sixers signed this guy, Tim Frazier. He comes walking in for shoot around. Yeah. He comes walking in for shoot around that morning, and I'm standing there talking to Brett Brown. Just the two of us are talking. And Frazier comes over, and Brett introduces himself. He introduces me, and he says, excuse me, Bob, 1 second. He goes, Tim, you're going to play about 39 minutes tonight. Is that cool? And Frazier's like, yeah, I guess. He goes, okay, I'll talk to you later about it. Like that. And sure enough, he went out and played like 39 minutes that night. So, yeah, that was an interesting time.
What was a bigger headache, the Bynum year or just dealing with Joel Embiid's health?
It all runs together. It really does. Like, the injury thing, which we're going to get into, obviously, has always just been a thorn in this organization's side in their handling of it. And I've never understood it.
Well, we need a whole hour just to talk about everything with the 76ers. So just a brief timeline. During training camp, we never really knew that Joel Embiid was injured or wouldn't start the season, in large part because we received no information that was the case. He was managing his knee. Right before the start of the regular season, they come out the day before. They say, "Oh yeah, well, Joel's not gonna start the season." They refuse to talk about it being an injury. I had Keith Pompey on last week. He had said that he thought that Embiid maybe was behind a lot of the non-transparency by the team. Like, he didn't want that put out there. But regardless, he wasn't playing. Which, by the way, Bob, I think any 76er fan realizes, like, this guy's going to be injured. Like, you're going to have to manage his injuries and his knees the rest of his career. So if he's not ready to start the regular season, for whatever reason, he's not ready to start the regular season. I don't care. I don't even pay attention to the Sixers normally during the first couple months of the season.
And if the team came out and said, like, yeah, he's working on that knee, he's probably going to be out for the first 4 weeks of the season, 3 weeks of the season, whatever it may be. Your fan reaction is yours. I don't care. First few weeks don't matter anyway. You need them healthy for the playoffs. Or it's, damn, that sucks. I have tickets for the first few games. I can't believe this happened. Okay, and then it's done. But it just keeps going on and on and on and on. Why not? I just never understood. Why not? Here's how I'll surmise it. And it's fine. They've been through different PR people. They've been through different GMs, coaches, everything except ownership has stayed the same. But it's always been like they're embarrassed about injuries. Injuries happen in sports. That's sport. Like, I'll give you this example. We were I was on the road, whatever, covering the Sixers. I saw Kevin Durant go down when he was with the Warriors.
That Achilles.
Right? The
rupture.
Achilles.
Yeah.
So he goes down and he kind of limps off the court, and you're wondering, perfect PR people are the Golden State Warriors. I got a text that night, a couple of hours later. Kevin Durant tore his Achilles. He's out for the season. Boom, that's it. It's injuries. Those things happen. The way it's handled by the Sixers organization, many times, it's almost as if they're embarrassed that their players get hurt, and there's no need to be.
Are they afraid? I had said this last week, where I there's something I have to tell my wife, but I don't want to tell her. So you delay it and you delay it and you delay it, hoping that you're not going to have to tell her because something else happens.
Changes, right?
And to me, it felt like the Sixers were.
Wow, we're in the same marriage.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. It gets me in trouble all the time. But like, to where they were hoping, you know what? Maybe he will be ready. So why would we come out and say his knee's not ready? He played the Olympics. We're going to catch a bunch of crap for letting him play in the Olympics or whatever. Which, by the way, I wouldn't have done. What's it play in the Olympics? Let him play in the Olympics, right?
I was so for him playing in the Olympics.
Me too.
I was fine with it.
Me too. And it just seemed like that they were hoping they wouldn't have to address the knee thing because he would ultimately play the regular season, start the regular season. And then he wasn't ready. It's like, oh, bleep. Now we got to actually address it. Let's fast forward. All right. Your boy Marcus Hayes And we had Marcus on last week. Actually, JP, it was the day that he wrote, because they don't, like now they put stuff out during the day on the website. It doesn't come out like it used to where it's in the paper in the morning and they put it out the night before.
Right.
So he actually wrote the piece the day that we had him on. And he said that, I'm going to read it. Joel Embiid consistently points to the birth of his son Arthur as the major inflection point in his basketball career. He often says that he wants to be great to leave a legacy for the boy named after his little brother, who tragically died in an automobile accident when Embiid was his first year at the 76er. Well, in order to be great at your job, you first have to show up for work. Embiid has been great at just the opposite. So Marcus wrote that on Thursday, I guess it was, or Wednesday. And then Joel Embiid has a press conference where you could tell he was pissed. And let me just say this, and then we know that there was, in the aftermath of it, he confronted him and he shoved him or hit him, depending on what you looked at. But just based on what he said, and then, Bob, I'll let you get involved in it. 99% of the people, if not more, didn't read what he wrote, didn't read the article that he wrote, didn't read the entire piece. They read the headline. They don't care about the context or the point that Marcus was trying to make. Because to me, if you read the whole thing, it's like, all right, well, like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what he says after that point. The fact that he brought up his deceased brother and his son, it's game over. It doesn't matter after that. It doesn't matter the point or the context that it was in. It only matters what he wrote. And that's the only thing that Joel Embiid is focusing in. So you can't do it. Obviously, you can't do it. You can't write that. And it was deleted from the article. It's not on the article anymore. It's gone. It's gone. What's your reaction to what Marcus wrote?
Yeah, I've said it on social media. I wouldn't have done it. There's a line that you cross a little bit. Family, is that. And Marcus apologized for it after he did it. It was deleted. He came out on social media and said apologies. Maybe it was insensitive or however. I'm paraphrasing. And it was justly deleted. You don't go there. Somebody said it on social media, a national journalist, and I forget who it was, and I apologize, said, look, the article was fine if you would just take out that part of it. Now, so here's how it goes for people that don't know. Marcus writes the article, it goes to an editor. So, of course, being in the background that I am, I probably talked to a few editors since this happened. Hey, how would you have played this out? Yeah, probably would have called Marcus and said, hey, do you really want to keep this in there? Marcus probably would have said, yeah, I'm good with it. Then he probably would have called back 10 minutes later and said, no, you're right. It shouldn't be there. That's the old newspaper days. Now with the online stuff, it's more of a, are you sure you want this? Yeah, sure. Boom, there it is. It's gone. And now you have to live with it. I wouldn't have written it. I think Marcus feels bad that he wrote it. We all know Marcus. He's been in this city for 25, 30 years doing what he does. He's edgy. Was this over the line? Probably. Look, I think I texted you about this or maybe I put it on social media. I have a special needs son. I've had people, he has autism. I've had people on Twitter say things about my son who has autism to the point of I had to call one of my other sons because he wanted to hunt somebody down.
I bet.
That's a line you don't cross. And I was with the team when Joel's brother died. It was a horrible time. He had been over here. He went to Kansas. He went to Florida for high school, went to Kansas, came to the Sixers, all during that time, not seeing his family. He's over here on his own, very close to his brother. That happens. He goes back to Africa, to Cameroon, and has to do all of those things. It's a sensitive, hard time for Joel Embiid. So his reaction, I think everybody, and Marcus probably, if we talk to him, professionally, no. Personally, I understand it. You can't do it. Now you go to the other part, John. I know I'm carrying on a little bit here, but it's kind of my expertise.
Let me ask you this. I'm assuming you talked to Marcus about this.
I have not.
Okay.
No, I've been in this situation, not as bad, and I understand it. Marcus doesn't need to hear from me.
Okay.
People ask me, what do I think about it? Yeah, I'll give my opinion, and I would give it to Marcus. Look, Marcus Hayes through the years, Bob Ford through the years, people come up to you after you write a column, of which I wrote many, and said, yeah, you mailed that one in, or dude, that was awesome, or what was your thinking here?
Right.
Like, those are the thought processes you go through with the stories that you write. Here's what, all right, Marcus, no, I wouldn't have written it, and I think Marcus doesn't is upset that he wrote it and apologized for it. Then you carried over to Embiid having the reaction he had at the press conference that you mentioned, John. How is it that Marcus Hayes walks into a locker room and Joel Embiid is basically sitting there waiting for him?
Because Marcus knew he had to show up because he had to have, he had to confront the situation.
Unwritten rule. You write something controversial, you have to be there the next day. Now, did the Sixers or did Marcus try to plan a one-on-one meeting with the two of them at some point? Maybe. I don't know. Because in my years of covering sports, John, if I wrote something that somebody didn't agree with, you don't know how many times I got calls from coaches, players, general managers. I need a meeting. I need to talk this. Now, we always worked it out. It was never came to this.
Right.
How you let the two of them for 1 minute and 45 seconds, John, right?
In front of everybody.
How do you allow that to happen? I don't know.
All right, so let's do this. All right, let's talk about JP. Let's talk about TrueMark Financial right here, because once we get into it, we're going to get into it. So hang tight on that there, Bob Cooney. Let's talk about TrueMark Financial for a second. It's been a couple weeks now where I walked into TrueMark, and listen, I know I'm a big star, and if I would have said, hey,
huge.
Hey, listen, just tell TrueMark I'm on my way. I want lunch when I arrive. I have to open up a business checking account. Well, I didn't do that. I just kind of cruised in. And I probably looked like a punk. I got a sweatshirt, a hoodie on, and a pair of baggy jeans or whatever. And you know what? They treated me great. They did. And I said, listen, I need a business checking account. I'm a small business owner. And, so they said, all right, well, absolutely. Come sit down. And I didn't have all the paperwork that I needed to open it up. They helped me with that. We were able to get that offline. And I got it open. And I can't say enough about TrueMark. They treated me great. They really did. And you could just tell how close-knit they were. Donna, who helped me with everything. Mary Ellen, who is the branch manager. They've been working together for 16 years. And that's what you get with TrueMark Financial. TrueMark Financial. And if you're in the market for a home right now, getting back into the market, their mortgage specialists can offer guidance on loan options and everything else. TrueMark Financial, check them out. Federally insured by the NCUA, an equal opportunity lender. For more info, visit TrueMark.com/PHLYITY. TrueMark.com/PHLYITY. All right, BetParks app. What do we got? Eagles 6.5-point favorites over the Cowboys. How about that? Buy it now. I think it's going to go up a point or two. 6.5 points on the road? That's telling you Dak Prescott has 0% chance of playing. How about that? Chiefs -9 over the Bucs tonight on Monday Night Football. That's a lot of points for the Chiefs. But listen, if you're looking for an app, you're a gambler, you want to check it out. Even if you're just using it for spreads, that's the only app that I recommend. BetParks Sportsbook app and online casino. When you're watching the games, they have live dealer blackjack, craps, roulette, and more. And if you sign up right now, new users get a $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. BetParks.com for details. Your casino bonus must be wagered, and you must be 21 and in NJPA, Maryland, Ohio, or Michigan. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Bob. So let me set the stage for what happened here. All right. So it's the end of the game. Everybody's walking back to the locker room. Joel Embiid obviously didn't play again. He was out for Memphis. And reporters entered the locker room to talk to the players. Embiid stood up and confronted Marcus Hayes. Quote, "The next time you bring my dead brother and my son again, you're going to see what I'm going to do to you. And I'm going to have to live with the consequences." Embiid continued with several instances of profanity. Hayes offered an apology, which Embiid did not want. That's not the first bleeping time, Embiid said. He later said he doesn't care what reporters said. And then Marcus, according to the story I was reading, said, quote, "But you do." In other words, you do care what he said. Embiid raised his voice and at that point pushed Hayes on the shoulder while the team's public relations chief got between them. Another team official moved Tyrese Maxey's interview out of the locker room. And then security yelled at him not to report on what happened. And then Embiid yelled at the security guard, "They can do whatever they want. I don't give a bleep." So there you go. And then Daryl Morey apparently took Marcus into a meeting and apologized for it.
Morey and Brand, according to Marcus, took him in and they apologized for Embiid's actions.
and the NBA is investigating or whatever. Like, dude, I don't even know where to start with this.
It's funny. So I know Marcus personally, more than people that I was tweeting with last night or whatever. I'm real careful with words, John. And, people say, well, he said this. And then they'll say on their tweet something where I could go back and say, well, you said that. Marcus is a confrontational guy. Marcus and I would go to a bar. This is God's honest truth. And we would argue that wall is white. And he would say, no, it's an off-white. That's just who he is.
Yes,
that's his nature.
Yeah, agreed.
And all that. What you just read where he said, but you do. So Marcus kind of escalated it a little bit.
100% with that.
And it's just, we've all been around those type of people. JP, you have, I have, John, you have. People just like confrontation. And there's others that don't. I have family members that just can't stand confrontation. Marcus likes it. And he kind of thrives on it. And I'm comfortable saying that. I do. I've seen it. Have I seen Marcus be a really good guy too? You can't imagine. You can't imagine the good things that Marcus Hayes has done, personally for me, for other people that I've seen. This instance, I don't agree with what went down with Marcus. I don't agree with what he wrote. I don't agree with going in there and instigating it. I also don't agree that it was allowed to take place. The Sixers knew Marcus was coming in. Embiid is sitting there.
You had to know what was going to happen. You had to know what was going to happen. I'll
probably reach out to the Sixers PR at some point and just say, did you want it to happen? Did you was this the only way to get over it? It had to happen? Maybe it had to happen, but not there, not then. Private room, security people, PR people. Marcus, stand over there. Joel, stand over here. Have at it. Right. That's fine. But it shouldn't have gone down this way.
Yeah, it's Marcus not being able to help himself because at some point you just got to take the L and shut your mouth. He's going to sit there and yell at you. That's already happening. He does care what people say. That's clear. But if he doesn't say that, I don't think Embiid attacks him.
Probably, maybe not. Not having been there. I talked to somebody yesterday that was in the locker room. I talked to a few people, but one that I talked extensively with, who had the recording has the recording of the whole conversation, and asked me, "Do you think I should release it?"
JohnMarksRadio@gmail.com.
Yeah,
if you
right.
want to send that to me, I'll release it.
And that was my question. Who was it escalated? And it said, neither one was backing down.
Pretty interesting that security, they're trying to strong arm the reporters of saying, and Bob, you worked in the business for a long time. You don't always report everything that you see, right? Or do. This isn't the first time, even with Marcus. Marcus has told me the story before when he covered the Eagles probably 25 years ago or 20 years ago, that he's had confrontations with players. I mean, it's a part of the business. When you write something that pisses players off, and this crossed the line because it's about his dead brother, but regardless, players are going to get in your face and say something to you about. Yeah. Have you had players that have confronted you and you had not to this level, but
not to this level, and it wasn't a confrontation. It was more questioning. Hey, why'd you write this? Or did you see this? Or did you notice that? And then after talking it out. Not because I'm better than anybody else, but 9 times out of 10, the players saw what I was seeing because I wasn't being unfair. I was throwing out what I saw because of this.
Right.
I've had general managers call me into meetings. Sure, coaches. Doug Collins and I used to go at it like crazy. I mean, screaming and hollering at each other. I'm still friends with Doug to this day.
Right.
There's an honest level that you have to have. I remember everybody knows Brett Brown, one of the nicest guys ever.
The best.
I wrote something where they had Jahlil Okafor, Nerlens Noel, and Joel Embiid all on the team at the same time. They decided to sit Nerlens Noel because they wanted to look at the other guys for a few games. I wrote a column that said, what are you doing? You have 3 really good players. Figure it out. You don't sit somebody for 3 games. How fair is that? Whatever. Brett called me aside. He was pissed and was like, why would you write something? First question, why would you write something like that? And I said, because ... He came back. I went back. At the end, we walked out together and said, I don't agree with you, but okay, I understand why you wrote it. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, this is way past that because, yes, it involved family. And now, as we know, Marcus.
And I will say this about Marcus. In every piece that kind of gets himself in hot water or gets a lot of publicity, he'll have something that is said. I wish I could remember the last thing that he said, because I remember saying, you see, you didn't need to put that in there. You put that in there because you knew that was going to get the headline. And there's that kind of that one thing that he says. And by the way, I had talked to somebody. He does very well when it comes to clicks on the website as opposed to maybe some of the other writers down there for this reason, whether it's hate clicks or doom scrolling or whatever. Well, like he's getting attention. JP had just sent this to me. We had him on last week. It's the most views we've had on an interview.
Oh yeah.
So I had people threatening me on DMs on Instagram saying, "You better never bring him on the show again." It's like, all right, why? Because this happened. Like I get it. It looks bad, but like you're trying to shut me, like tell me what to do on my show because of. Listen, he's got a reputation. You know him personally. You worked with him for a long time. I've known Marcus for a while. I worked with him a little bit at WIP. He's got a reputation for a reason. He's not scared to say something he thinks it needs to be said. And guess what? He plays a role in this city's media of being the guy that'll say something that others maybe don't want to say. It's not easy to be the bad guy, and it seems like he's the bad guy a lot. So I appreciate his role in the Philadelphia media. Obviously, he can't say stuff like that.
It's funny. We talk about playing roles in your job sometime, and sometimes you have to do it. I will say this. I don't think Marcus plays the role of bad guy, media guy. I think what Marcus writes is what he truly believes.
Right.
I do. I think that's how he's built. And I gave you the example of sitting at a bar with him and arguing with him if the wall was white or not. Like, that's who he is. That's who he is. And it's made him successful in being a columnist for, back in the day at the Daily News, one of the greatest sports section in the whole country. And he covered the Eagles. He covered the Phillies also. He's a beat writer for the Phillies too, before becoming a columnist. People last night, I was going back and forth on Twitter. I'm not defending. Like I said, I would not have written that column. If I do talk to Marcus, he knows how I feel. I wouldn't have done it. I don't think he should have done it. If I was an editor at the paper now, I would have called him and said, I'm not comfortable with this.
Right.
And we probably would have gone back and forth. If I was the editor, I would have final say, and I wouldn't allow it to run.
Embiid striking a reporter. How is this handled by the NBA? How is this handled by the 76ers? Obviously, you can't have a player, like someone said assaulting. I think Keith Pompey wrote assaulting, a shove. He didn't punch him in the face, but still, he made contact with the reporter. How does this handled from here?
There's got to be something. So there'll be meetings between the NBA, the Professional Basketball Writers Association, of which I'm sure Marcus, I was a member of. I'm sure Marcus is also. That can't happen. There's guidelines of etiquette, of behavior in locker rooms, outside of locker rooms. We all know what they are. That's not even something that's discussed because there's no question about that. So I assume some kind of suspension would be coming, a fine, but how does the NBA not? You can't shove a reporter. You can't do it. I would assume he gets a couple games suspension. I could be wrong, and that's the first thing that I thought of. And I haven't reached out to anybody in the NBA because I just don't feel the real need. But I do think something will come down. Yeah, you can't do that.
Well, maybe soon while he's still not ready to play.
It's funny. I was saying this with my friends yesterday, John. I said, this could be a win-win for the Sixers. Now the heat's off of them for him sitting a few games because he gets suspended. And they said, he would have been ready to play, but the NBA suspended him. And I don't know if that includes team activities, whatever. But I do. I think it's, and I'm not saying this in defense of a journalist. I'm saying that's the rule. That can't happen. A journalist can't push a player. Player can't push a journalist. It just can't happen in a locker room.
And the Sixers actually have a plan there?
Because if this does happen, like I said, I'm sure this has happened before. If it does happen, it's in a controlled environment and it doesn't get out.
Yeah.
And it doesn't turn into where, because there's going to be people that are there to separate them if something does happen. And this, I don't, and I like the guys that work down at the 76ers.
So do I.
They're
really, good friends of mine.
I really do. This isn't even a clown show. This is a donkey show that's happened the last couple of weeks here. What the hell are they doing? Like, are they afraid of Joel Embiid to where they're not even able to tell him, like, dude, you're not going to do this here. Here is what we're going to do. Because what I'm doing is I'm saying, Joel, listen, Marcus is here tonight. I don't want you to say anything to him. We're going to go here after the game. We're going to here before the game. We need to clear the air, and we don't want to do it in front of anybody. To me, it feels like that everything that's happened here over the last couple of weeks is because the 76ers are scared of Joel Embiid.
Scared is an interesting word. Now, I thought when I was covering the team and Joel Embiid was brought on and Ben Simmons was brought on, to me, and I wrote this, I thought there was an entitlement there with those two players. There were times where Embiid would blow off the media when, like, it's your obligation. PR people would be trying to get him to come out, and he would say, no, I'm not going to do it. And they would come out and say, sorry, Joe has to go rehab or something like that.
Right.
Lack of a better term, is it the inmates running the asylum?
Welcome
with
to
those
professional
two, I
sports.
thought it was. Yeah, to a degree. To a degree. Now, I've been around, many, many sports teams where I've seen the superstars have to do things, from the LeBron James to Dwayne Wade's, all those guys. They do them because their PR people are on top of them to do it. I'm not putting down this. As I said, the Sixers are on their umpteenth PR people since I was there. But it's kind of the same happenings as far as handling of injuries that I just don't understand. Injuries are a part of the game. It seems like they're like not scared of it, but they're almost embarrassed by it. They're embarrassed to say somebody's hurt. It's a part of the game. I'm almost 60 years old. I'm hurt when I get up out of bed every day. I'm not embarrassed by it, but it's just what it is. And
if this is handled appropriately in training camp, I don't think any of this is happening right now.
Exactly, right?
Marcus doesn't write it. I mean, Marcus probably writes something about Embiid. I don't think it gets to this level. Really, we were not only the day before. I didn't think he was going to start the regular season, but the fact that they came out the day before. And there was this weird, we're not going to admit there's an injury. Like, there was no ground zero to the injury. Like, oh, well, he's not hurt. What do you mean? Like, but if it's your left knee management, it's pretty simple. Bob, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I'm not the dumbest guy in the world. He went to the Olympics. He played. The knee didn't respond in training camp when they started working out. So they said, hey, we're going to be conservative. It's swelling up, whatever was going on. Just say that.
Yeah.
Just say he's like, we're going to take a conservative approach. It's the most important thing that he's ready to go at the end of the season, not the beginning of the season. Don't even give a timeline if you don't want to.
Right.
Just say he's not ready to start the regular season, and we'll update you in next week or whatever.
Yeah.
It's brain dead.
Get out in front of it.
Brain dead. I don't understand it.
You're afraid of the backlash because he played the Olympics and now he's not ready. Okay, take that backlash for a day, but be open and honest and say, well, that's where we are. He was fine to play in the Olympics. He didn't respond well after the Olympics, so we're going to get him revved up to the perfect point of when he's ready to go. It might be a few weeks. Okay.
Did he get fat? Did he get fat after the Olympics?
I haven't seen him. I'm not going to, have I talked to people? I heard there may have been some weight put on.
Which wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah, you know what?
So what?
I don't know how many times I went to training camps and players would come up to me and go, oh, my God, I'm so sore. I'm 5 pounds overweight. I'm an idiot. I should have done better this offseason. Okay, guess what? You're a human being. I understand that. So, I don't know. Always interesting, isn't it, John?
It's always interesting. I knew that we were going to be where we had 4 minutes left to go on the show, and we didn't even get into the Kelce situation. And I got kid obligations right after the show. So you know what? I'm not even gonna. I'll talk about it tomorrow or something. All right? Because real quick, Jason Kelce spiked the phone on Saturday. He's at Happy Valley. He promoted that he was going to be at the game. Some idiot comes up and spikes his phone. I put out what I thought was a fairly innocuous tweet saying that he can't be spiking phones. That Jason Kelce, this isn't Jason Kelce of 3 years ago where he could walk around Sea Isle and no one would bother him. He's probably making $50 million a year. His profile's never been bigger. His brother's dating the biggest pop star of all time, right? He's a big star. He's on ESPN. He can't walk around, and I'm sure he had somebody with him, kind of as security, but he's walking around with a 12-pack in the parking lot of Penn State, carrying a 12-pack. And some idiot
can't afford a rolling cooler or something. Come on, Jace.
But it's rugged road cooler, JP.
Yeah,
right there.
come on.
Get a styrofoam one and just put it on your shoulder.
Or at least a book
Come
bag
on.
like the old days.
But so the New York Post puts out that I was critical of Jason Kelce. I like Jason Kelce. I wasn't trying to be critical. If you know Jason Kelce a little bit, you know he's a really, really good guy. Jason's a great guy, a great, genuine guy.
Yeah.
He's also a huge star now. Much more than when he played 3 years ago. If you're a big football fan, you know who Jason Kelce is just because he's an all-pro center. But other than that, you don't know who the hell Jason Kelce is, right? Everybody knows who he is now. He's a huge star. You can't continue to do the same things. If he's going to do this and he's going to be so public and he's going to be out like he is, walking around a tailgate with drunk people, and I don't know how much he was drinking. He was carrying a 12-pack with him, or what was a 12-pack with him. Like, you got to be prepared that idiots are going to come up and say shit to you.
Yeah. You put it perfectly, and I think here's the answer. He's the everyman who has been thrust into stardom.
It's not the everyman anymore.
And look, the three of us, if we're walking, somebody says something about our family and they have their phone in our face, we do the same thing, right? And Jason Kelce's the everyman. We can get away with it. He can't because he is that star you talked about.
Right. And he used a derogatory, the person used the derogatory homophobic slur, the F word, and then he repeated it back to him after he slammed the phone or whatever. And it's like he repeated it back. But like if there was an N word that was used and he repeated that back, would that be looked at as something he could do? No, it couldn't. So I'm not even trying to criticize Jason for any of this at all. What I'm saying is going forward, he can't do this. It's not going to get easier. It's only going to get more difficult.
Sure.
This is going to continue. So he needs to be prepared for it a little bit more. He can't put himself in situations where he's doing this because it's going to be caught on video every time.
And you just knew it. It's going to happen, and it's a shame but somebody's going to have to go to him at some point and say, hey, look, the chugging of beers in public, the going down the shore and getting in drinking contests, we got to curtail it a little bit. It's just going to happen. It's a shame that society is like that anymore, but some of it's going to happen. That big contracts, big responsibilities, right?
But you wonder if he's going to see that, or he's going to say, but this is what's making me famous. I mean, before every Eagles game, shotgunning beers, I don't know if he needs to do that before every Eagles game. Maybe just the big ones, you know what I mean? But he's still doing, he still does his usual hit on WIP. I mean, he hasn't changed. And like I said, he's a really, really good dude. And shout out to the diehards out there. Thank you, diehards. We appreciate you. He's a really good dude. I think he's trying to be genuine and true to who he is, but he's not that guy anymore.
That's got to be a hard thing to take, though, John. Right?
It's weird.
You know, we're just who we are. Somebody takes something like that away from us. That's got to be hard. No matter how much money you make, he wants to be who he is. Yeah, but you got to dial it back a little bit. So yeah, it's unfortunate, and why people have to try to make names for themselves acting like that is ridiculous to me.
You know how I got tipped off to the post putting out the story? I had somebody in my DMs on Instagram, this mean message. And I'm like, what is this person talking about? And then she replied back. She was from Australia. She's a Chiefs fan from Australia. And was like, nobody gives a bleep what you say. You have 8,000 followers on Instagram. Shut up. All this other stuff. And I'm like, what is this? And it was because of the story. So then I start getting all these DMs. And I'm like, I didn't even know what happened. And I'm like, oh, and then I Google it, and I'm like, oh, right.
Wow.
Someone's headline reading saying that I'm ripping Jason Kelce for spiking the phone. Because I guess nobody else in the world has the balls to actually have the common sense and say, listen, you're an adult. You can't be spiking the phone. I realize that I think the everyman thing, like you talked about, everyman's that guy was an idiot. He deserved everything he got, which, by the way, he did. Screw that guy. I'm not defending that guy.
Sure.
He's lucky he didn't get his ass kicked.
Yeah.
All right? Jason can't act like that. He can't muck himself down with a loser like that. Hire a couple other security guys to where they can easily walk. If you're going to be out there in public, Bob, you need to have more security that can walk that guy away.
Yeah.
Period.
And you know what? Kelce's defense probably would be, okay, if that's the worst thing I ever do is smash a guy's phone who called my brother that, my bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He didn't punch the guy. He didn't grab the guy by the throat.
No.
He smashed his phone.
I mean, like I said, I'm not even criticizing him for it. I'm looking at it I really like Jason, and I don't want it to. He's lucky that the public is reacting the way they're reacting to it, because if it could have went a lot of different ways,
sure,
it could have. So,
yeah.
So how does ESPN handle this? Now he's a part-time employee.
It's a good question.
Yeah, like I said, if it was a punch, a touch, a shove, it could have been worse. But he grabbed the phone and smashed it. Okay, buy the guy a new phone.
I don't
pay
think
first plan for a year. I don't know. I don't think it's that big.
I don't think he should do anything for the guy's phone. He deserved it. Here's how I think it's handled. I don't think ESPN says anything.
I don't either.
I think he addresses it on his podcast. So now he's going to get 10 million views of his podcast as opposed to 5 or whatever he normally
says
gets.
The guy's name on his podcast. Hey, I got to say, Jimmy Smith, whose phone I grabbed through it, I don't appreciate what you said. I shouldn't have smashed your phone, but don't talk about my family.
Right.
Boom. That guy's happy. His name was just mentioned to 10 million people.
Well, you better watch. He's going to lose that dude's going to lose his job for using the F word.
Yeah, right.
That's not good for the kid either. It's just
no, it's a bad situation.
You can't.
Wild weekend, guys. Holy crap. Leading into this week.
If we weren't doing sports radio, I could do this topic for 4 hours with Jason Kelce stuff. Because
we are doing this for 4 hours, aren't we?
No, we're not. We're done. We're done. But I would love to have you back on Skype or live in studio. I appreciate you coming in today, man. This is a non-compete party for Bob Cooney. He's finally legally allowed to come on the show.
My wife gets up today. She's getting ready for work, and I'm standing there. She's like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" I said, "You know me." She goes, "Oh, you're all pumped up, aren't you?" So yeah, I appreciate you having me, John. This is awesome. I would love to be a regular. This is terrific. I love what you're doing, and yeah, let's get it all back out there.
I must say the chat has been loving Bob here today.
Of course.
They're showing so much love. Although I will say there was a Camden Catholic post in there. We're Cherry Hill West over here, so.
You couldn't get into Camden Catholic, so you had to go to Cherry Hill West. I understand.
Sky
no
knows.
big deal.
Yeah, Bob's one of these guys that, like, nobody dislikes Bob.
Oh, he's the best.
He is a very likable fellow. Honestly, and I thought about this because when I drive home, I go between the two stations. All right. I go back and forth. I missed you on the Phillies. I love you on the Phillies. You are such a good Phillies voice and such a good Phillies fan. I missed you during the run.
It's amazing. Like I went through, and John, you went through this. That you left your job. I was asked to leave my job, for lack of a better term. I miss it like hell. Yeah. I miss talking to the sports fans of this city. I miss writing for the sports fans of this city. It is like, look, we're biased, yeah, but I've been all over the country. I've been all over radio stations everywhere when I was covering the Sixers. There's no better sports city. There just isn't. And yeah, I do. I miss being a part of it. So hopefully we're jumping back into it.
Well, listen, as many people have said, one door closes, other doors open. And I know that listen, I'd like to have you more involved here. And JP Anthony's probably going to steal them. And I'll be like, yeah, I want to get Bob on. Oh, sorry, I'm already booked with the Cuz today.
I'm walking over to do a show now.
Bet you are.
Cuz would love that.
He is the best.
All right, everybody out there, appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow live at 8 o'clock in the morning. Shout out to the Mad Chatters out there. People, Bob, they tune in live every morning on YouTube. We're on Roku TV. We have our own station on Roku. Just search PHLY and you'll get our programming 24 hours a day. Rotates everything that we do.
And just a quick reminder, tomorrow's the last day, John. $48 a year for become a diehard.
For the diehards.
Oh, cool. $4 a month. That's running to tomorrow. So you got time, guys.
That's a good deal.
That's a great deal.
The number 2 at McDonald's used to be $2.99, and when you supersize it, it'd be about $4. It's more like $10 now. But hey, that's a hell of a deal. I think you can get $4 a month.
Yeah, guys, that's your coffee.
Even I can afford that. Yeah,
I cannot afford it. I'm trying to dig myself out of the hole. And by the way, we're available. Bob, I don't know if you know this. We're available on podcast.
I did know that.
So you search PHLY Sports or Philly with John Marks, and JP will get the podcast up every day, or Tyler. Right. About 5 after, 10 after 9, boom, you can listen at your convenience. Perfect. Very cool. Can't beat that. We'll see you soon. Everybody, back tomorrow, live at 8 a.m. See you.
We all silly like the mayor.